Several years ago, Donald John Trump met with Vladimir Putin in Helsinki. They had an hour, 90-minute conference where there was no American interpreter, staff person meeting with Trump and Putin. While Donald Trump does not speak Russian and Vladimir Putin does not speak English, the only translator was a Russian translator who translated what Vladimir Putin said to Trump in English, and then he translated what Trump said in English to Vladimir Putin in Russian. It was an insult to our intelligence corps that the American interpreters and secretaries were not allowed in a meeting with Trump and Putin. When they came out of the meeting, they took the stage together in a dual, if you will, press conference. And I want you to hear what Trump said, because there'd been a lot of banter going back and forth that Putin had interfered with the 2016 election, that he was deeply involved in rigging the election. Parenthetically, Trump talking about the election being rigged now, he ought to know about that, because Vladimir Putin was deeply involved in rigging the election. And all security agents, the CIA, Homeland Security, and they said that the foreign aid that Colombia did, that Russia did interfere. Anyway, Trump did something which at this point should have turned every American who ever dreamed of supporting him away from him. Let's listen to what took place.
Would you now, with the whole world watching, tell President Putin, would you denounce what happened in 2016, and would you warn him to never do it again?
All I can do is ask the question. My people came to me, Dan Coates came to me, and some others. They said they think it's Russia. I have President Putin. He just said it's not Russia. I will say this, I don't see any reason why it would be. I will tell you that President Putin was extremely strong and powerful in his denial today. And what he did is an incredible offer. He offered to have the people working on the case come and work with their investigators with respect to the 12 people. I think that's an incredible offer. The probe is a disaster for our country. I think it's kept us apart. It's kept us separated. There was no collusion at all. Everybody knows it.
All right, here, in the early days of Trump's campaign, shortly after coming down the escalator, I gave my support to him. He then did two things. One was he announced that Obama was legitimately born in Hawaii, that the testimony of his grandmother stating he was born in Kenya was a lie, and that all the efforts that we had put together over the last 8 years demonstrating he was not natural born, therefore he did not qualify to serve as U.S. president, Trump swept under the rug and said he was born in America. I said, that's tough, because that makes me now, Trump is now calling me a liar. And it gets worse. He then after that says he was going to be better to the LGBTQ community and had the president of PayPal with him on stage in one of his campaign events. He said it's going to be better to the LGBTQ community than Hillary Clinton could ever be, and he waved the LGBTQ flag. That was it. I left. And I knew that Trump was a dishonest man from the get-go, before I endorsed him. But all politicians are greatly dishonest, so in that regard, he was no different. And the only thing that brought me to a time of endorsing him was that he had been, for the last 8 years, had been a staunch, what we refer to as birther, stating that Obama had not been. So I thought that once he took the keys of power and he could investigate Honolulu, Kenya, investigate all reports, birth certificates, that he would reveal that singular truth. And that's why I endorsed him for that. And he just threw that out the window even before his campaign got started good. What an insult. And a number of people felt insulted as well that were Trump supporters and birthers. And they allowed themselves to be called liars. They allowed themselves, you know what they said? They said, well, he had to do that in order to gain the presidency. He had to lie about Obama's birth certificate in order to gain the presidency. I said, what a damn hypocrite you are. Because that's what Obama did to get elected president. He lied about the birth certificate as well. But when Obama lied about the birth certificate, it was foul, it was un-American, it was unpatriotic, and it needed to be brought to task. And you hounded him for 8 years for lying about the birth certificate. Now, when Trump lies about the same birth certificate, about the same incident, all of a sudden, Trump is given a pass. I thought, what a damn hypocrite you are. At any rate, but I understand. I understand you swallowed that, and you swallowed the insult, many of you. But here's something that no one should have ever swallowed. Trump insulted the long heritage and history of America's intelligence. He insulted America's voting system, of which, without our right to vote and without our elections being pure and true, we have no democracy. We have no nation. And Dan Coats, who was director of the National Intelligence Agency and Homeland Security and all the other agencies and CIA that had done work on this project regarding Russia interfering with the 2020 election, they all concluded there was evidence that Russia did meddle in the 2016 election. And Trump himself said to WikiLeaks, you know, if you got that information, please turn it over. When Trump stood there on that stage with Vladimir Putin and said he believes Russia, he believes Vladimir Putin over the strength and the long-living legacy and integrity of our intelligence agencies, our voting systems, and the American people. When Donald Trump said he takes the word of Vladimir Putin over the American establishment, at that point, no American should have ever supported him again. No one should have ever supported him again. And I'll tell you, the people that marched on the 6th of January, when they assaulted the Temple of Democracy, those same people, every damn last one of them, who assaulted the Temple of Democracy and saying that Joe Biden stole the election, every last one of them knew in their hearts, that Trump and that Putin had meddled in the 2016 election. They knew it. But like the birth certificate and like the LGBTQ support, they simply swallowed it as a lie, a part of a grand case of hypocrisy, if not outright racism. And they allowed Vladimir Putin to put our entire electoral college, to put our voting system, to put our intelligence agencies down. And it'd been one thing if Trump thought that, but would have rather have been diplomatic. You don't embarrass America in public on a world stage like that. Even if Trump thought that Russia had nothing to do with it, you would have affirmed Vladimir Putin and put down America on the American stage. That is just, damn it, unheard of. And no decent human being should have ever allowed Trump to get away with that. But the Southern Baptists, the so-called birthers, a bunch of others allowed him to put America down. I mean, here's what I'm trying to say. Trump may have been right that Russia had nothing to do with the meddling in the 2016 election. He may have been right. But he didn't, as a diplomat, as a politician, even as a businessman, Trump knew that you didn't have to say that and make America look like we don't know what we're doing and that Russia and Vladimir Putin is smarter than we are. He could just held it to himself and maybe spoke about it in a private setting or in another setting where it would not have been so insulting to the American people. You know, if you're a Trump supporter, after he insulted America like that, I have to ask, what the hell is wrong with you? Are you that un-American? Are you that anti-truth to allow Donald Trump to insult America? You know, people run around talking about Trump said America first. No, it ain't America first, it's Trump first. And let me tell you why Trump did it. Trump is a businessman. He may not have been a school politician, but he was wise enough to know you just don't put that kind of stuff, that kind of dirty laundry out in public. Trump could have obfuscated the question like he so often does. But you know why Trump put America, its intelligence agencies, its court systems, its CIA, why America put its voting, why Trump put all that, threw it in the garbage can and said, I believe Vladimir Putin? It's because Trump don't give a damn about America. It ain't never been about America for him. It ain't never been about America for him. It's about what's good for Trump and Trump only. And if you think, whoever the hell you are, if you think that Trump, you can say what the hell you want to say about Biden and Camelback ain't Black Harris, and I'll agree with you. I'll say it too. But what I will say is, well, if you think that somehow Trump gives two damns about you, then you are two dams in deep debt. Because that boy don't give two damns about nobody but Trump. But for you to let him put America down like that and not do nothing about it. And you say, well, maybe, Pastor, I didn't see it that way at the time. I was blinded by my distaste for Hillary Clinton and Obama. I'll give you that. I'll give you that. But now you know. Now you know what you're going to do. What you're going to do. What you're going to say. Now you know. Are you going to still say, now that you know the truth, that Trump put America down because he don't give two damns about you or about America? The only thing that Trump ever cared about is himself. And the other thing was he had a motive. He was praying he'd get an opportunity to build a hotel in Moscow. And by giving Vladimir Putin all that credit, that he'd get an opportunity to build in Moscow. Trump doesn't care anything about America. He doesn't know how. He literally does not know how. You know, I've said about the Hamite brother, he has a cognitive dissonance problem, and he does. It's a psychological term, and anybody who studied Psychology 101, you know, anything about social interaction of humans and their interpretation, understand this term comes up right away as a psychiatric term, cognitive disagreement with truth. Trump is unable to carry anything. You can't even blame him for it. Were you to punt Trump, you say a man is getting ready to be executed for committing a murder, the judge will have him psychologically examined to see whether or not he understood what he was doing, if he understood the trial, if he understood, and the psychiatrist would come back and say, Your Honor, Judge, this man has no idea what he did. He has no recollection of how he did it or why he did it. You can't hold him accountable the way you would do reasonable thinking people who commit murder. He doesn't know. So to kill him in capital punishment mode would not serve any purpose because he doesn't even know what the hell he did. Anybody who put Trump before a psychiatrist and examine him, you will discover Trump does not have the psychological ability to care about any damn thing but Trump. He is void. He doesn't know how. He doesn't have the capacity. He doesn't have the neurons. He doesn't have the spirituality. He doesn't have the empathy. The man does not know what, he don't care about no damn body. He don't care about no damn body but Trump. Trump don't care about no damn body. He is cognitively incapable. The man is a psychotic. He is a psychotic, and he ran America as a criminal enterprise for 4 years. He is a psychotic. And there's no way he cares about you or Ivanka or anybody else for that matter. The only person, even Vladimir Putin knows that Trump don't care nothing about him. Vladimir Putin knew that Trump was using him. And that's just to close out here. Let's say, for instance, that one would argue that Vladimir Putin had something on Trump, such as the golden showers at one of the hotels where the prostitutes were allegedly peeing on Trump in one of the grand suites of one of the Russian hotels. And he had a bunch of Russian women come in and pee on him. I don't know if that happened or not, but that's what's been alleged in some of the reports that came out. And that there's video of it. Or there's a video with Trump and other sexual entities. Or there's information about Trump's financial dealings, that he borrowed money from one of the banks that was involved. They borrowed money from some of the oligarchs in Russia. He owes Russia billions of dollars in money and so forth and so on. And so Trump he protected Vladimir Putin because he didn't want all this damaging information to come out about him. Can I say something to you? Trump and Vladimir Putin understands this, that even if Vladimir Putin had a treasure trove of videos of Trump and all kinds of sexual encounters there in Russia, or he had information about loans that Trump has borrowed from Russian oligarchs or Russian billionaires, he would never report that. He would never release that. He would never release. Vladimir Putin is too smart a politician to release that. Listen, if Vladimir Putin had released videos about Trump and prostitutes, who's to say that America doesn't have videos with Vladimir Putin and young boys? And even if that's not so, it isn't good when you reach that level. You don't do that kind of a thing to your enemy. Only small-minded people would release something like that about their enemy because it doesn't look good. I mean, what would it look like on the world stage if it was reported that Vladimir Putin released X-rated videos about Trump? It would make Trump look suspicious, but it would make Vladimir Putin look small. There are a whole lot of people got a whole lot of information about other people, but they don't release it because the very fact that you are releasing it makes you look small. Now, what a lot of people do is that they release it, but they use some other name, and they use some other person, or they use some anonymous identity. And the reason why they use an anonymous identity, because even though the information that they're releasing could be damaging against the person you're releasing it, it's more damaging to the person who would choose to release something like that. And so for a country, for a nation like Russia to release something like that, whatever it is they had on Trump, would make Russia look small on the world stage. And they were never going to do that. They were never going to do that. Maybe WikiLeaks would introduce it, and that's what WikiLeaks was. WikiLeaks was a clearinghouse for people who wanted to release damaging information, but they wanted to throw a rock and hide their hands because they themselves knew that perhaps the information they were releasing about somebody else, they've done something worse. And somebody might say, well, hell, if you're releasing that about him, I'm going to release something about you. And the stuff becomes a chain reaction, like a nuclear explosion. And so people hide their hands and do it under an anonymous name. But Vladimir Putin would have never released, never, a single damaging thing against Trump. WikiLeaks, on the other hand, could release stuff, and the person releasing it could hide their hands. Putin's a wise man. Usually, people who live in glass houses don't like to throw stones. And if they do, they like to get somebody else to throw them. So, when somebody comes up here and releases some information about you, and they don't give you their real name, you have to wonder, what you're afraid of? What's wrong? What's the deal there? Putin would have never done that. He would have never done that. And only a person who was very small in their understanding would ever attack someone like that. Putin is a very wise politician, and so is Trump. Omarosa could say a whole lot of things about Trump. Let me ask you a question. Your wife, and the court systems of America says, your wife can't testify against you. You know why? Because she knows stuff about you that is deeply personal. And for a wife to then turn around after knowing you and then stand on a world stage or stand before a microphone and begin to blurt out every little thing about every time you pass gas, it's just unethical. It will make her look worse than it makes you look. Now, I'm going to damage you, but it makes her look all out. So the court said wives can't testify. And any wife that chooses, or any woman that chooses to go public, especially a wife chooses to go public about the intimacy of her with you, is lower than you. I can guarantee you that. Guarantee you. But there are people who have very little experience at life themselves. And so they go about this. That's why WikiLeaks became such a very powerful entity. At any rate, everybody, I'm James David Manning. I'm the Lord's servant. This is a bit of a news blog we do looking at spiritual wickedness in high places for the most part, making some observations about it and giving people a biblical foundation to the way of interpreting rather than have Sean Hannity or Laura Ingraham or Janine Pirro or Anderson Cooper or Rachel Maddow or Don Lemon, Rush Limbaugh interpret what's going on in the world. You come to me and I'll tell you based on what the Word of God says. They'll just give you their worldly, sinful view. But the Manning Report will tell you what God has said, whether to say yea or nay, whether to go or to stay. You'll be led by the word of Almighty God. Come to the Manning Report on a daily basis to interpret the spiritual wickedness in high places, because there's plenty of it that's going on. And so I'm the Lord's servant, James David Righteous Rebel Manning, and I'm here to serve you with news and information.